Domain expansion, Jujutsu Kaisen. There's a lot of talk about Jujutsu Kaisen anime, about the power of various protagonists and their might, but we don't talk enough about the ultimate spell for exorcists and curses, domain expansion. This technique enables an exorcist or curse to materialize its vital space in order to gain the upper hand over its opponent. It's like an unstoppable attack. A barrier is then mobilized to delimit the territory and associate the caster's spell with it, but deploying your vital space requires preparation, hand signals or unique symbols, and huge amount of occult energy. The result is well worth the effort, as it offers a number of advantages. Firstly, it increases certain characteristics. Secondly, in such a place, every spell cast always reaches its target. And finally, a territory neutralizes all opposing spells. Inside, not even Satoru Gojo can avoid an attack, but each domain expansion is unique to its caster, and depends on the latter's skills and characteristics. In this video, we'll explain to you all the domain expansions of Jujutsu Kaisen. Let's start off with the domain expansion of our fire curse, Jogo, Coffin of the Iron Mountain. We only know a little detail about this domain expansion, but we know for sure it's a powerful one, as Jogo is one of the strongest curse existing in this era. The environment constructed by this domain resembles the inside of an active volcano. It's a sealed-off stone chamber, looking like an iron cell, with large fissures across the wall and the ground that spout magma and burn everything. The heat produced there is so great that the average Jujutsu sorcerer would combust upon entering the domain. It's a large-scale area attack, perfect for reaching many enemies at the same time. Coffin of the Iron Mountain is a lethal domain that includes a guaranteed hit. Jogo can command molten rock that extends from the environment to hit his opponent with a can't-miss attack. One of the domain expansions unknown and that most of you did not guess is one of the smallpox deity. Do you remember this curse fighting the first grade exorcist Mei and her brother Ui? It is him! It is one of the strongest curses, below the level of Mahito, Jogo, and the rest of the crew, but still fierce and hard to eliminate. This one was controlled by Kenjaku, under the name of Geto, to gauge the ability of Mei. Its domain expansion consists of trapping the victim in a coffin and burying it underground. If the trapped victim can't escape before the count of 3, then the trapped one will contract smallpox and die. Then let's move on to the next one, Dagon and its Horizon of the Captivating Skandha. Dagon is the cursed spirit of the sea, first appearing as a small octopus or shrimp, to evolve to something stronger and faces 4 exorcists by himself. Dagon's domain expansion is conjured when Dagon forms a seal on his stomach. This creates a tropical beach that has a forest of palm trees on one side of the shore, and an ocean on the other side, stretching into the distance. It looks like a calm domain, and its waters are shallow enough for someone to stand in, while close to the beach. Horizon of the Captivating Skandha has a sure hit technique that allows the Shikigami that Dagon creates to automatically hit their target. From the view of the targeted, the fish appear suddenly, making them near impossible to block, as the Shikigami don't exist until they hit the target, instantly devouring their flesh. As we could see in the anime and manga, it's a very strong domain expansion if we look at the damages exorcists got when facing it. Next is self-embodiment of perfection. Do you know it? It is Mahito's domain expansion. We all know very well this curse who looks like a human in comparison to other curses, but who likes to play and torture humans. This domain expansion is conjured by hand seals formed by tiny hands inside Mahito's mouth, then a large black environment that presents Mahito's target with giant hands clasped together to form a flower-like shape. Connected to these hands are multiple arms grabbing one another to form a net pattern that surround the target. Self-embodiment of perfection increases the effectiveness of Mahito's idol transfiguration curse technique by allowing him to transfigure the souls of the targets within his domain without requiring physical contact. However, a major drawback of this ability is that Mahito is forced to touch the souls of everyone inside the domain, which backfires when Yuji Itadori enters the domain from the outside, causing Mahito to, albeit unintentionally, touch Sukuna's soul a second time, prompting the King of Curses to lash out at Mahito. Now Kenjaku's domain expansion, Womb Profusion. Unfortunately, we still don't know a lot about this ability, as we need to progress more in the story, but we know that it is one of the strongest domain expansions, as it is a limitless domain, which is an incredible feat. Going by the name of Womb Profusion, it creates a tower of grotesque, cursed spirit-like faces that are all merged together. Anyone caught within the area of its can't-miss attack will be hit with explosive force similar to what's delivered by a direct hit from Maximum Uzumaki, but the nature of the attack remains unknown. It remains a mystery for the fans. Our most beloved villain, Sukuna and his malevolent shrine. Like Kenjaku's domain expansion, it is one of the few limitless domain expansions. Actually, there are 2 or 3 limitless abilities, and it represents a mastery of the use of occult energy. Befitting its name, Malevolent Shrine constructs an environment centered around a small, scary Buddhist shrine, replaced by demons. It is surrounded by dark-colored water and skulls on the ground. The roof also has horns coming out of it, along with human skulls that hang down from it. The 4 entrances entrances to the shrine are formed by large mouths, which look like human mouths. Malevolent Shrine's guaranteed hit ability can be made to relentlessly slash apart anything until nothing but dust remains of what was caught in the effective range, via Sukuna's two types of slashing attacks, Cleave and Dismantle, which only cease when the domain is disengaged or Sukuna is so badly injured he cannot sustain the domain anymore. Sukuna has the divine ability to expand his domain without closing the barrier to create a separate space. This creates a binding vow due to allowing an escape route from the domain that enables him to expand the effective range of the guaranteed hit up to a maximum radius of nearly 200 meters. Furthermore, Malevolent Shrine cannot be destroyed by any normal means because of the lack of an enclosed barrier. The only way to effectively destroy Malevolent Shrine is to injure Sukuna to the point where he can no longer maintain the domain. Megumi's domain is called Chimera Shadow Garden. Chimera Shadow Garden floods the area with thick fluid shadows. Megumi is able to manifest multiple Shikigami, as well as advanced manipulation of all available shadows. Chimera Shadow Garden traps the target inside the user's shadow, recoloring the entire space into a negative palette. It also conjures a large object that resembles two columns of spinal bone with ropes tied and roots attached to it. Anyone standing in the shadow will have to reinforce their feet with cursed energy or risk falling into the abyss. Within the liquid-like shadows, there is no buoyancy, resistance, or oxygen. Anyone who has dropped into it will fall indefinitely. A character we don't know a lot is Hiromi Higuruma and his domain expansion, Deadly Sentencing. This domain creates a small courtroom where the user and their target stand across from one another, playing the roles of prosecutor and defendant. Deadly Sentencing is the type of domain that doesn't contain a can't-miss attack. Instead, it forces those inside to follow the rules of the user's curse technique. The domain isn't constructed to be lethal and implements a binding vow requiring the user to explain the aforementioned rules. It is a non-lethal domain. The trial-based curse technique imbued in the domain allows the user to prosecute their target with the Shikigami called Judgman serving as its namesake. There is no violence allowed inside the domain for either side, and proceedings begin immediately after activation. Judgman automatically knows everything about everyone inside the domain, but the information isn't shared with the caster. After the accusation is reviewed, the defendant is given one chance to defend their case. They have three options: silence, confession, or denial. If the defendant chooses to deny the charges, they can lie in their statements. The defendant's goal is to dispel all doubt and win a pronouncement of innocence from Judgman. The prosecutor also only has one chance to make a statement, but theirs is a rebuttal based on evidence submitted by Judgman for deliberation. The evidence submitted appears as a sealed envelope in the prosecutor's hand. The evidence submitted is not necessarily conclusive, and it will not be opened and shared with the defendant until after their statement, but the prosecutor will be informed of the contained information by Judgman upon receiving the envelope. Once the prosecution and defense have both made their statements, Judgman will deliver a lawful verdict. If the defendant is found guilty, they are punished with one of what is implied to be several different sentences. Not even the user can be sure of which sentence their opponent will receive. One sentence the Judgman will commonly give is confiscation, which prevents them from being able to use curse techniques. After the verdict, the domain dispels and the punishment immediately affects the guilty party. However, if the defendant is found guilty without an open confession, they can request a retrial that Judgman cannot deny. Now Satoru Gojo and his incredible technique, Unlimited Void. The domain expansion brings the user and their targets inside the Limitless itself, a vast void of infinite knowledge. Boundless raw information floods into the target's mind, overwhelming them to the point where they're completely immobilized. Alongside self-embodiment of perfection, Nanami consider Ultimate Void an almost guaranteed win once it ensnares its target. The complete incapacitation of the target is caused by a phenomenon where the target will be able to see and feel everything, while not being able to see or feel anything at the same time. All the actions one have taken in their life is forced upon them infinitely, and they can't do anything but die slowly. This effect does not affect the user or anyone they're touching. Gojo can control the range or the duration of the spell, as shown in the Shibuya incident, while facing Jogo and the other curses in the metro, surrounded by humans. The next one is a domain expansion unknown by a lot of fans, or barely known. Idle Death Gamble from Kinji Hakari. Idle Death Gamble CR Private Pure Love Train version 1/239 is based on a real pachinko machine and gets its theme from a romance manga series. The user's goal is to hit the jackpot by lining up 3 of the same symbols decorated with the characters of Private Pure Love Train. The jackpot bonus grants the user unlimited curse energy and a fully automatic reverse curse technique for 4 minutes and 11 seconds. The duration of the Private Pure Love Train theme song, Admiring You. The regeneration speed is higher than even Satoru Gojo and Sukuna. The user must participate in the flow of the game in order to hit the aforementioned jackpot, with only 1 in 239 chance of doing so. All the rules of the game are transferred into the opponent's brain through the domain's sure hit effect. This process is harmless, and as a trade-off, the construction and curse technique infusion of this domain are extremely fast, activating in less than 0.2 seconds. This also makes Idle Death Gamble very effective in a clash of domains. We could think this spell is weaker than others, but it is one of the scariest domain expansion you can have in the manga. One of my preferred character in the manga is Naoya Zenin, and his domain expansion, Time Cell Moon Palace. Expanding his domain casts a black empty area and the main stage of the environment. The primary stage of the Time Cell Moon Palace consists of a straight path of flesh that leads to a large eye behind the caster. The auto-hit function of the domain injects films of animation frames into the neck of its targets. Anyone who moves within the domain must abide by the 24 FPS rule of projection sorcery, or they will receive numerous bloody injuries with every movement. The domain increases the precision and the embedded curse technique and targets individual cells. Freezing individual cells disrupts them and causes countless small cuts and gashes to appear all over the body, completely immobilizing any target. Forcing a movement can cause an appendage to be cut off completely. Naoya was already the strongest character, and he is not even considered as an exorcist due to his lack of occult energy, but with this domain, he was incredible. It was just unfortunate he did not last longer. Finally, a mysterious character appearing later in the manga related to Sukuna is Yozoru, Sukuna's lover. Without spoiling too much about her, her domain expansion is called Threefold Affliction. Her innate ability is construction. She's able to reproduce and create any surface or material she knows, except for cursed objects. In her domain expansion, she's able to maximize her powerful skill. Her domain creates a mostly blank space with several oversized organic structures floating within it. They resemble the disembodied brains and ventral nerve cords of insects. The sure hit effect of the domain applies to Yorozu's constructed items. This way, the more powerful the construction, the more powerful the attack. An efficient spell for her, who was not a gifted exorcist, but a very efficient one in the use of occult energy and battle senses. Here we are. The more the anime and the manga will progress, the more domain expansions we will discover, and this way, we will be able to make another similar video. If you want to continue to watch cool anime videos, you can check out this one that's appearing on your screen. Click on it to see. Go ahead, click it.